That's the way when in the 60s and 70s, you guys remember TGI Fridays. That was one of the places I worked at. And we used to do, I was a dishwasher there in the late, it must have been 1980, I guess, or back then, one of my first restaurant jobs that I had. This place was doing, I swear, hamburgers were probably like, I don't know, $2.95, right? Cokes were probably less than 50 cents or something. They were doing close to $100,000 a week on ward. You do the math, that's amazing. We used to turn away people at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get in. I used to leave that place at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was so busy. But see, TGI's philosophy was always about word of mouth. They never spent a single cent on advertising. Times have changed. Until now, TGI Fridays now, they started probably in the late 90s, 2000, where they started putting money into advertising, television, traditional radio. But in our business, a lot of it's word of mouth, but we have to brand us. So our whole game plan was to open more than one big city diner. And the reason was because we knew the proliferation of the mainland chains coming into the state. And we couldn't compete on a one-to-one basis, like how you got Joe's hardware store and then Home Depot opens across the street. You know, that happens. You hear about the horror stories about Walmart and the superstores, right? And the lawsuits and all those kind of things about keeping those guys out. For us, marketing has changed a lot. We're into branding. We do a lot of community stuff. We do a lot of charity, a lot of work with charity and giving back to the community. Kind of like a form of advertising in a way, but you're working with the community, you know? And now social media is a big thing. Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. As you know, it's inexpensive, but it requires a lot of time because it's about developing relationships one at a time online, you know. So it's a quick and easy way if you're going to do it yourself. But you got to realize you got to be committed to it. There's no sense starting something like Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, unless you're going to continue to develop the relationships online with the individuals. That makes sense? Go ahead.
So you said that 2 to 4% of marketing is giving to a community to encourage that word of mouth marketing. Is that what
I would say, okay, take a standard like 2%, and then in that it's radio, television. We do a lot of trade, also trade services, food for a radio spot or something like that. A lot of it happens to do what you do. You work with one company A, B, and C. Right? We being C, and A might be a beverage company. B might be a radio or a television company. And we all work together, or maybe Part D, like could be Vacations Hawaii. So we work in conjunction with each other for the benefit of all, I guess. Does that help?
Yes,
Does that answer your question?
That's the networking. That's the...
Yeah, and yet we can offer something out there, get our name out there. We do things with the University of Hawaii, a lot of things with the University of Hawaii, even HPU and Chaminade. So there's different markets that we look at that will affect, because our business varies from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10, 12 o'clock at night. The demographics change from business people to girls' day out for Wine Wednesday today to families to... I think we have like 45 McKinley band students coming at 9 o'clock tonight downstairs. And they were earlier at 5:30, Kanu Hawaii was meeting to have a board meeting or something. You know, so it changes. So it depends on, so with all these different relationships, we have to have different types of marketing. It's kind of different because Big City Diner it grosses a lot, it touches a lot of ages, you know, from 10 years old to 70 years old, which is very unusual for businesses where they might be just targeted, more specific, right? A more target group. So
it's pretty interactive, so there's no automated system that you kind of put into place to bring in clients, new clients.
Could be anything from an enter to win kind of thing to an email club that we're part of, to a Twitter thing where we had the there's Kanu Hawaii who was doing an Eat Local Challenge. You guys heard of that last week? It was about, they say that there's only a 14-day supply of food that we have in the state of Hawaii. And if we were to cut off shipping from Matson from the West Coast, that to feed 1 million people in this state, we would only have food for 14 days.
Yeah,
And you
that's
heard about
right.
that. So what they had a challenge last week to have people commit to eating local. And it's very difficult because nobody grows rice in Hawaii. So we had to come up with a meal. So we had local fish, we had bok choy from the west side, we have hamakua mushrooms, we had kunio tomatoes. We had all these different items, but the rice, there's no rice in Hawaii. It stopped a long time ago. They don't grow it anymore. And you try to, there's local beef, but you have it on a bun, but where does the flour to make that bun? Even the bun was made here, where did that flour come from? Or like tofu, what about tofu? Put tofu on the menu. Where do the soybeans come from? They don't come from Hawaii. The soybeans come from China or, the mainland, and then they brought in, and then you make tofu. Or Portuguese sausage, made here in Hawaii. Where's the pork from? So we worked together with them last week on this Eat Local challenge. And then on Twitter, we put that out on Facebook, and then we had a party of 2026 come up to one of our restaurants to partake in that. So that's how it all works together, I guess. It's kind of complicated, and there's multifaceted ways of attacking it, I guess. But we can sit down and more and talk more in detail. Does that answer your question? You have more questions? No? Go ahead.
Oh, marketing. As a small business, I wouldn't put a lot of money in it. I think the best way to market yourself is come into places like this. Any place you can get an audience, even if it's just one person. You're marketing yourself, you're marketing your business. You can, if you're selling cars, you can spend 90% of your budget on marketing. Because all you want to do is get people in the door, make the sale, and get it out. There's really not a customer service loyalty versus like what Lane's doing here. He's got, he wants customer service. He wants that return customer. So his is about relationships. It's about building that relationship, going around the table and saying, hi, did you enjoy your meal? That's marketing. That doesn't take a lot of money. That just takes that personal touch. To me, that goes a lot more. My network that I have today is incredible. And I didn't do that by taking out an ad in the paper and saying, hi, I'm Bruce Coppa, I want you to meet me. And I went around and I volunteer, and I'm in the community, I help wherever I can. That's your best market. You are the best marketing opportunity as a small entrepreneur. As you get larger, as you get bigger, as your company gets bigger or you want to expand, like my real estate, there's no way I can go and knock on every condo and say, hi, I'm Bruce Coppa, I'm the best realtor here in the state of Hawaii, hire me. So you got to spend money on marketing. So different businesses, different ways.
Good point.
All right, how's everybody doing? Why don't we grab a table here? How about Rich Bailey, your table over there, Arlene? Can you guys hold up your words for our guests this evening? Okay, looks like we got honesty, networking, jobs, work, family, controversy. You want to take one of the words first?
Which ones you got? Sorry, jobs, honesty, networking,
controversy, family.
I'll take on work and job. I'll take work and jobs as a combined one because it seems to be what's on people's minds today. It's what's happening across America. The 9%, the 4%. Did you know that right now in Las Vegas and the state of Nevada, the almost 15% unemployment, work and jobs? It's really about, we all want to work. Whether some people would say we're lazy or not, but it's in our gene, it's in our DNA to want to do something, to be successful, at least most of the people. So when you have an economy like we're going through right now, where work is very difficult to get, jobs are hard to get, it's some challenging times. So for me, I think the word work means getting up every day and taking on something. Whether it's working at the local restaurant down the street, whether it's selling a car, whether it's in real estate, it's work. Whether it's volunteering at the hospital, it's work. We all have our different skills that we want to take on and do it. So while there's not a lot of jobs out there, there are jobs out there. Look what's going on in America. We don't have it too much here. But they put an advertisement, this whole thing about immigration. the Mexicans coming up and working in the agricultural fields. And so they ran an ad in the paper to hire people for work, for jobs in the fields. Do you know that not one American citizen signed up to do that? So there's jobs. I'm afraid that the younger generation, and maybe it happened in my generation too, but you can't get to the top just because you want to be on the top. You got to work. You got to work hard. Nobody gave me what I got today. Nobody gave him what he got today. You had to work at it. Nobody gave you what you're doing. You work, and you work hard at it. So I would tell you, whether it's working in the fields, whether working at the car wash, or whether you're the CEO of one of the largest companies here in the state of Hawaii, you go to work every day. It's a job, and it's about what makes America tick. It makes the world tick.
We have another question, Mr. Kevin Hendrickson. It's a question for our guest.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Rod.
My question was, what is the most valuable lesson that you've learned in business, and how did that affect your business?
Okay. We kind of touched on this earlier about, could you repeat that again about, oh, sorry, I'm losing this.
What would be the most valuable lesson that you feel that you've learned in business, and how did that affect your business at that time?
For me, customer service. When I was younger and in my Italian genes, I used to tend to just give an answer right away. And I learned hard and fast that people remember you for what you are, what you say, and what you do. And customer service, whether you know that old saying, the customer's always right? They are. Because when you rebut it, you don't have that customer forever again. I think a lot of politicians today need to learn the same lesson. It is about customer service. And so for me, the hardest lesson for me, I think, was remembering that no matter what, everybody is a potential customer. Every customer is a gain customer. Every customer you got to take care of. So be careful how you treat people, because someday they'll come back and bite you. It did me.
That's a good point, because I try to explain to my my managers that do the interviews and the store levels that we get tons of applicants every day, and we go through literally hundreds of applications a week. I ask my managers, even if we don't have any positions, to spend at least 5 minutes with these individuals, to give them some respect and thank them for interviewing.
Yeah.
I mean, coming to the restaurant to apply, because these are potential future customers of ours. And it's hard at times because the managers are busy, but it's that philosophy of like, one day, these are our guests, and when the managers do make that time, and I wish they would do it every time, is that the person can be very grateful because they just went to 10 other places and didn't give them the time of day.